let's turn to dealer principal at Raceway Auto, Jake Lebowitz. Welcome to the show, Jake. By the way, today is a tale of technology fun, is it not? Jake, are you
It
there?
sure
Can
is.
you hear us?
Gotta love
Can you hear
live.
me?
There
Can you
you
hear me?
Yeah, we
go.
can. Jake, how are
How
you?
are you guys?
Doing good.
Good.
Good. Busy.
Good. How's biz, Jake? Talk to us.
So it's very brand. I'm sure Sam can attest to this. Each brand kind of has its own challenges and its own kind of nuances. I think you really got to focus in and maximize the brands that have upside near term. But we take a longer term view on most of our stores where, if we feel a brand is not strong today, we still look out 12, 24, 36 months to pivot and kind of position ourselves to succeed. So there are challenges, but there are franchises like Kia that are very strong. And there are other franchises like Nissan or maybe Stellantis that are not as strong right now, but we do feel like there will be strength in the next 12 to 24 months in some of those brands. So it's very brand specific and market specific, but there are kind of pockets of sunshine for sure.
Jake, can you give us a quick overview of your group? Where are you located? What brands do you have as part of the portfolio?
Sure. We've got 5 large Kia dealerships in Jersey and Pennsylvania. I'm based out of Freehold, New Jersey. We've got Nissan in Freehold right on Route 9. We've got Kia in Conshohocken, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We've got a cluster of stores in South Jersey, ranging from Chevy to Volkswagen, Kia, Hyundai, Stellantis. We've got Audi all the way up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And we're in the Lehigh Valley with Chevy, Isuzu Truck, and Kia. So we're sort of spread from central South Jersey up into Philadelphia and Lehigh Valley. And we feel like our geographic, we're condensed enough, but we're also broad enough to sort of see different markets and take advantage of different areas.
See, I got to ask this. Well, I started in the car business at an Isuzu dealership selling Isuzu Troopers and Kias and Rodeos and diesel pups. Jake, you have an Isuzu franchise. You do the commercial truck. Is that?
We do.
How many units do you guys sell out of there? I'm just curious for my own. That's where I started. I love that brand.
Yeah. So when we bought this store, I would say it was doing maybe 15 units a year. And we have years now where we do upwards of 150, 200 units.
Nice.
The fixed business can be strong and they're bigger trucks. So, it's a little bit different than, a regular shingle. But it's actually a part of our Kia dealership up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And, it's an interesting business for sure. It's not something I would want as a single point. But before we bought this dealership, it was actually a Dodge dealer and they had Dodge Isuzu. So they sort of went hand in hand, having diesel techs and, having the truck customer.
When we were doing online sales during COVID, we had to place an order for those Carvana trucks because we were, delivering all online. And we had I think it was like a year and a half wait or something like that. And by the time that it was about to be delivered, we didn't need nearly as many. We were like, what are we going to do with this? People offered us money to transfer the purchase to them because no one could get their hands on those, those pickup trucks that do deliveries. So it's been an interesting market.
And, Jake, and generally you need to upfit them as well. So if you've got a food distribution company and you need a refrigerator truck, that's a process of upfitting the truck. And, there's margin on that. It's kind of like a sublet situation, but, it's an interesting business. We're in it. And I don't know if we invest a whole lot more in that segment, but we've got it.
And I'm going to ask you about investing because one of the reasons you're on today is because you've just entered a very big diversification project. Let's hold that off for the end of the segment. I think that's very interesting,
Sure.
and it's something I've been talking a lot about. Before we get into that, you were mentioning some upside with brands. Can you tell us specifically right now what brands in your portfolio you're seeing upside and where?
You know, I've said this to you before, Yossi, and some. I think you almost have to look at it like stocks in a stock market. You know, you'll have cycles where certain sectors will be stronger than others, and I think we try to take a viewpoint where we look at a brand and we look at the leadership, we look at the product, we look at, are they dealer friendly, are they not, and then from there generally you can get an idea of, look 12, 24 months out. For instance, Nissan has had extreme challenges, as you know. That being said, I feel the Nissan leadership is extremely strong right now. The product is great. Nissan is pro dealer now, and I don't think they've been pro dealer maybe ever. And they're changing their tone, which we're happy about. So I would say Nissan, although it might not be today or next month or 3 months out, I believe that's a brand that in 9 to 12 to 18 months will be in a much better position. Um, I know you've had Vinay on here, who's a tremendous executive, and they recently brought Christian Munier on, who's a visionary, and we like it. It's profitable. They have profitability challenges right now, but we do think 12, 24 months out that will change. Um, yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of little nuances where today might be a challenge, but if you can look out further than 12, 24 months, and you can kind of, like you're not going to be able to buy a stock when it's at its all-time highs. You got to buy it kind of when it's, not in favor, and you got to put processes and controls in place. And then as it becomes in favor, you benefit.
Jake, I like how you've mentioned this kind of day trading your inventory before, and some
Yeah,
people in the comments specifically noted that the way kind of the just the language you use when it comes to inventory and how you think about it, given the volatility. How
sure.
are you managing inventory between your stores? What is the policy that you have in place? How do you work with how does each store work with each other between these locations?
Yeah, so we generally will have a weekly meeting with our V Auto rep, who is tremendously talented, and we'll basically look at the enterprise level, and we'll look at fresh trades. And for instance, if we trade a luxury import car in Allentown, PA, but it belongs in Freehold, we'll immediately look to send that car down to Freehold, mainly because if the car's a 70-day mover in Allentown, but a 35-day mover in Freehold, you already have enough information to make a calculated decision. And we do the same thing across, different markets that way. But you got to have your people on the same page, and you got to have a control and a process to where that can take place.
What happens to the manager that traded in that 30-day mover in Freehold, which he got it 3,000 under market value or whatever they got it for? How does
Yeah,
that how does that reconcile?
they'll pay MMR or adjusted, MMR plus
Mm,
recon. So if it's under a certain age bracket, they will always pay what the car is worth if they were to go to the block and buy it.
got it. Okay. How are you feeling right now about Hyundai and Kia? And I know they've been on a tear since COVID. Affordability's been tight, and people were looking for value. Hyundai and Kia sort of rose up. Kia really tremendous rise. How are
Yeah.
you feeling nowadays in terms of opportunities and challenges there with those brands?
Yeah. So again, what's interesting with Kia, a lot of the Kia dealer body is the same dealer body that had it in 2016, 17, 15. And back then it was a grind. And I think the guys who got on Kia later in the game that thought it may be a cakewalk because it's a hot brand, nothing in this business is that easy. And I think, doing a massive Kia deal in South Florida, if you're a Toyota dealer, might be different than if you already have Kia in the Northeast or in Texas. So again, I think it depends on your position. We've had Kia for a long, long time. We know the nuances, we in variable and fixed. And we love it. We like it a lot, but we are very market specific on where we would, entertain owning another Kia dealership. Like we would not go and buy a deal in a small rural market. That's just not for us. That being said, that's an opportunity for another guy. But I do think the Kia design, the Kia warranty, the programs, we're seeing a lot more of the Lexus customer or the Infinity customer coming over to Kia Tellurides or Kia PHEV Sorrentos. We're seeing a lot of that conquest happening.
Yeah, that the first realization I had of that was where I have a friend who's a cardiologist, and where he's talking to me about cars, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I've been looking at the Kia Telluride," and that was when it kind of clicked. I was like, "Wow," just like point blank. I mean, this guy is can afford anything he wants and luxury, and he's really attracted to Telluride. So something is doing well from a marketing and branding perspective.
Yeah. And then I think also, that customer is going to spend more money when they maintain their car. They're going to spend more money in the back end. So, Kia really leveled it up, and it wasn't just like a one-hit wonder. They're continuously coming out with these beautiful, vehicles that are priced extremely fair, and Hyundai the same. I think Hyundai is a bit more competitive. Market dependent, but where we're at in the Northeast, there's a lot of dealers. So you got to be aggressive, and you got to make every single car deal, and that's just how Hyundai is.
Jake, real brief before Yossi asks about this acquisition, because we're getting close on time. I'm
Sure.
super curious, as many Kia stores as you have, I see in the notes here that you've had a 250% increase in your fixed ops gross profit. So many dealer groups right now are focused on fixed ops. It's retention, it's bringing the customer back, and it leads to repeat return sales. What are a couple tips that viewers could learn from in the Kia world that led to that 2.5 times, 250% increase?
I think that your first service, and it's kind of like back to the basics, as you know, get your first service done, get the customer back in the door, treat them like family. Generally, you'll see a correlation between CSI and retention. And, I don't think it's rocket science. I think a lot of it is just, you know, MPIs on every single customer. Every customer needs to get, we're doing video walkarounds, video MPIs. That's been a game changer for us. And a couple of years ago, we're doing that at our Audi store. We're doing video MPIs, and I see the CP,
Yeah.
go like this. I'm like, to our Kia techs, guys and girls, we're doing this. And, we got a lot of pushback. We got a lot of resistance, but if you basically mandate it, it's part of your employment. It will get done, and when they see how it affects business, then it's just a snowball effect. So
250% is pretty cool, Jake. That's a big accomplishment for that delership there in Allentown, Kia.
yeah, I
So
mean,
props
and
to you
it's
for-
not just Allentown. We Conshohocken, and we did same thing, probably 350%, and a lot of it is just, as there's little nuances that you and I can talk about, with each OEM, but you got to maximize your customer pay, your internal, your warranty, and there's ways of doing it that each dealer knows. So it's basics.
Yossi, we should ask about this acquisition.
Let's do it. Well, yeah, before we wrap up, so I've spoken a lot about diversification. I think it's been a big trend amongst dealers in the last couple of years. Earnings have been at record highs for the most part, say since 21. And just generally speaking, there's been a lot of change and volatility, EVs, autonomous vehicles, regulations, like all these things. So I'm very interested in just diversification. I saw Jake, you were just part of you led a really big acquisition of this like historic property in Freehold. I'm reading here, I'm looking at this article. You have a community centered redevelopment vision for this big piece of real estate, which happens to also be your group. Raceway happens to be named
Yeah.
after this property, I believe. So
Yeah.
what's the deal here? I mean, and let me sort of lead the witness here just a little bit, but what it tells me is either one of two things or both, which is that you are strategically diversifying because you're extremely like indexed to automotive, or two, it's tough to find more great deals to buy in the dealership market. So you're looking outside of traditional dealerships, potentially lower IRR. Maybe I'm wrong. But regardless, you're looking for other ways to deploy capital. So tell us a little bit about the story here.
Well, I think, as you know, a lot of car dealers own their real estate. So we're no stranger to real estate or development or building car dealerships. It's crazy. Everything comes full circle. When we purchased Freehold Kia in 2017, the reputation was bad. And I looked around in the market. I'm like, what is synonymous with Freehold? And it's Raceway. There was a racetrack. It was the oldest horse racing track in the country, 178 years, I believe. And I named Raceway after that. Um, and it just so happens it's maybe a tenth of a mile up the road, and we had an opportunity to purchase it from Penn Gaming and Parks Casino. It was a joint venture type deal, and it had nothing to do with not wanting to continue investing in automotive, because that's what we do, and we will buy automotive deals as they come to the table. But this deal, it's about 60 acres. It's prime Monmouth County freehold. It's got a ton of history, and we saw an opportunity, and we love the area. We want to give back. We want to build something that's tremendous, and I saw it as a generational sort of opportunity, and that's why we took advantage of
Very
it.
cool.
Yep.
Jake,
Well,
appreciate you coming on.
Thank you,
This
guys.
was super
Appreciate it.
insightful, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.